In this CTF, we will hack a box. It's a box on TryHackMe.com. It's called Teams or Teams CW. And let's take a look. It's all about enumeration. So we already started the target machine. You'll see here the address of the machine. We could scan this box. So for example, we could start the terminal and do a scan on the box. So type in the address, target address. You'll see it scanning and it will pop up some open services that are running on this box. So it's running a file sharing service on port 21. It's running an SSH service on 22. And it's running a web service on port 80. So we could take a look at this web service if we open Firefox. Or if you want, you can do this with curl as well. It doesn't really matter. We'll open up this address. So just for the example, we open up this address of the target machine. And you see it loads a default Apache page, but looks can be deceiving. So we take a look at the page source, and you'll see it works, but we see we need to add team.thm to our host file. So let's do that. We open up the terminal, then we open that file, so we can do edit etc host file and add it in there. So append it here, then the target address. And we need it to be teams.thm. Save the file. Now I'm using Vim here, but you can use whatever editor you want, of course. So now if we resolve team.thm, we should get some web page. So it takes a sec to load. So it's just a standard web page, right? And now what we need to do is enumerate this machine. We need to find out what is on this machine. So what we can do is use a little tool called GoBuster. So it's installed by default in this attack box. With GoBuster, you'll see it shows all the help of the file. And what GoBuster does, it simply goes over a dictionary of words and asks if those files or folders exist on the target website. So, for example, we have a word list in the folder varlog, not in varlog, it's var list, user share word lists. And then there's the folder sec lists, and we have one for discovery, and let's say the common txt. Well, let's see what we have in here. Web content, common txt. And you see it will just try different files and folders to see if they exist automatically. So we'll do /events, /extranet, /faq, /games, whatever. And it will tell you which files and folders exist. So it's sort of a brute force method with GoBuster. Let's give it a go. Do GoBuster, there, -u, then team.tm, -w, user share word lists, and then the whole path. So it was in sec lists, discovery, content, let's see, web content, and then common txt. So now it's scanning, and you'll see it finds a bunch of files. So we have this index.html. It found robots.txt. If you want, we can open it here. We see robots.txt. And we see this Dale in here. Might be a username, but we don't know yet. Let's just take a note of it. So we have this robots.txt with Dale inside it. Now we also have some folders here. So we have the scripts folder, images, and us. Let's take a look in. Let's scan that. We can use scan and then scan the scripts folder. And with GoBuster, there's a nice trick. We can search for files. So we might search for txt, alt, back for backup files, maybe zip for zip files, and so on. And it will start scanning this scripts folder. So I enter, and now it's scanning it. Notice that I added this -x flag. If we -x, it will start use the same technique, but then try to find files in that folder. So in this case, we find script.alt and scripts.txt. So let's take a look. We do scripts. The original folder was scripts that we found, and scripts.txt. And you'll see we discovered this little file. So let's take a note of that. Then put it together with this editor here. So we have the /script.txt. So this is a script that seems to be doing something with username, password, and so on. But let's take a look also at this script.alt. Maybe there is something useful in that. So we go to script.alt, and you'll see it downloaded it instead of opened it. Default behavior of a browser. So probably it downloaded to root. Yes, here we go, script.alt. Let's read it. You can do it with the cut command. And you'll see we found the definition. So let's copy this into the editor. And you'll notice this script.alt file that we discovered. It has a username and password for FTP. You'll see here FTP user and a password. So what we can do, we had scanned earlier, there were 3 ports open all the way in the beginning. Let's see if it's still there. Scroll up. Okay, it's not. But the target machine had 3 ports open. One of them was FTP, or a file transfer service. You see here on port 21. So what we can do is connect to this service. We can do FTP and then connect. Then we know the username and password because we found it in this file, this .alt file. So this FTP user. And then this password that I'm not going to remember. So let's just copy and paste it. Paste that in. Now we're inside the FTP service. So they should have deleted this old file, of course, but we have access. There's a folder workshare. We can embed workshare. Then we have this file new_site.txt. Let's download it. Then let's take a look at that file. So we list that file, new site.txt. Let's copy it. We again see this deal. So let's paste that below on our whatever discoveries we found. We have this user deal. This is something about this .dev within our domain, and also about an ID_RSA. So this is a key file that you can use for SSH to log in automatically. So instead of password authentication, they use these certificates, these SSH keys, in order to log into the SSH service. Okay, so let's add the .dev to our host list. So we can take a look at it. Copy this one. Then we'll open again the host file and we'll add it. So we say the same address. Now we add it. Now let's take a look. We open the dev.team.thm and we don't want to search it with Google, it's just a web address. So this is the site that we found. The site is being built. It's because it's some kind of device. Under developments, this is what they have. It has a link. Let's click on it. And you'll see there's a script.php question mark page. And let me copy this to be more clear. So we found this address where it's slash, it just is the address, question mark page is, and then the file name. Now what we can try to do is simply open another file. So we can use this LE attack, or if you will, we do /////, so we go higher in directories, and then all the way to the root slash. On Linux system, the slash is the start of the file system, and then we'll try to open file password, so etc password, and we got the password file. So This is the entire password file. And if we open it, or if we paste this in, you'll see they have different users on the file. So Bill, the user, so right here somewhere. And there's also the Ubuntu user here. Of course, there's a root user, the administrator is always exists on a Linux system. And I suspect that JAWS is also a user here. Though I cannot, here we have the user JAWS as well. So what we could do, because he mentioned the SSDs, we could try to directly access them here. So we could try /home /jals/.ssh/id_RSA, but in this case it doesn't return anything. And neither for the other users. So there was this other user that we found, Dale. It's the same thing. So what we need to do is to find a file where we can actually access it. Now, we can access any file here, right? So any file that the current user can access, probably the www data one. So we could try, for example, etc group, and then we know the groups on the system, or we try the sshd config file. So we do etc, and then try to get the config file, and you'll see it didn't output it here. Let's see if we do it from the terminal. We do curl, then paste this, and you'll see try to get the file, but no, it didn't return anything. Let's try config, same thing. And so what we need to do is a little trick where we'll use a PHP filter. So PHP : filter, convert it to base 64, and then access that same file. So let's open that file, the sshd_config file. And you'll see it dumps a lot of data here. So if we scroll up a little bit, you'll see we have the file and it's base 64 encoded. So what we can do is to decode it. Let's open this, and okay, let's open a new tab. Base 64 minus D. Try to decode this file, and the other way around. So the file base 64 encoded data, and now we just decoded the file. So we did the entire, we just echoed the data and then decoded with base 64 minus D. Now, if you prefer, you can also do this with CyberJam, of course. Let's decode it there, but now there we go. And this is the SSHD config file. You know, this is just a standard config file for the SSHD service. But it seems the owner of this file dumped their SSHD config file, the ID_RSA file, the private key for Dale, inside here. So what you can do is you can copy this. Right click, copy. This is the private key for SSH, and it's been commented out. So it's been put there by accident. What we can do is open a tab. We can enter our SSH folder and paste that same key in there. Now, what we need to do is those dial signs. Oh, sorry. So we need to remove those dial sign. Now, there's quite a lot of them. Dial signs, we could do this manually, but I just made a quick macro for it. Now, save one. We'll need permissions, and by default, the permissions are wrong here for the RSA key. So you can see if we try to edit it, so say SSH add, and we try to add this key, you'll see the permissions are wrong. It's available for everyone, so security mechanism in Ubuntu. So we'll just say chmod 600, with this file. Then we can add the key. You'll see the key has been added. Now we can try to log in SSH, and you'll notice we went quite quickly over it, but it's for the user Dale. It's also been commented in there. So, some looks as if they left the door open. So let's say we add this IP address, the target IP address, and we connect over SSH using that username. Yes, and you'll see we have an initial access into the target machine. We are the user Dale. They ask us about user.txt. Now let's take a look. We have user.txt. We can read that file. So that's this file. We can then copy it. There we go. Next, we need root.txt. So notice how to user root. See, our data. We could try sudo -l, and you see there's this user Giles for the sudo command. So the run as administrator commands, in this case run as Giles. It can run this script, the home Giles admin script. Let's see if we can just read it. As you see, we have this script here. Prints something to the screen. You'll see here reading stats, enter the name, so it takes input in read. Then it does it again, and finally it reads some file. So what we can do, we can say sudo -u Giles script. Now you'll see it prints that reading stats. We could of course type legitimate inputs in here. So we could say the username Giles and enter some date. I don't know, some date in here, and you'll see the script finished. But what we'll do instead, because this script doesn't have any input checking, we'll try to give malicious input. So we'll try to give a Linux shell bin bash, and we'll try it again. And the date is also bin bash. Why not? So now there's no output, but let's see if I run who am I. You'll see we have the shell. We are the user Giles. Now we check where we are. We are in home Dale. So of course we can now take a look in the Giles folder, and you'll see there's nothing there. One thing that is annoying here, that this is not a stabilized shell, right? This is one of these echo shells. So we could try to stabilize the shell with Python. We use PTI and PTI dot something like this. Let's try again. Might be the wrong Python module or command. So obviously this seems to have been the wrong one. We could take a quick look here. Might have been a different name, maybe it's TTI or something like this. We have TTI, and there's a folder spawn. Open. Let's try with those Python functions. Do it again. We could also just look it up on the net. Okay, let's take a quick look. Okay, so we got slightly wrong this command. We need this one. So let's see different quotes. The quotes the other way around, but otherwise the same. There we go. Now we have the normal shell, and we are the user Giles. So now the problem is we are not root, right? We are just Giles. We could try again with the sudo -l, see if we can run anything as administrator, but it asks us for the Giles password, and we don't have the password of Giles right now. We just have X. So Ctrl C. We'll take a look at this bash history of this guy. So maybe there's something in there. We simply cut it to screen. So you'll see he's been doing kind of stuff here. We have a backup script or script in opt admin script.sh. He's been doing all kind of things here. Also, there's something with netcode, a reverse shell, it looks like. So let's take a look at that script, that opt script.sh everywhere. So opt admin stuff script.sh. And well, okay, let's check the cron tab. So nothing there. See if we have it in the cron tabs list. Okay, it doesn't let me look. Let's take a look in this opt backups. Need to recheck opt admin stuff. So let's take a look what is in there. And script.sh. You see we have two scripts there. It links to dev-backup.sh and main_backup.sh. Let's take a look at the permissions of those two. So we have this dev-backup.sh. Copy. It is only readable and writable by the user root. And let's take a look at this other one. Okay. To list it. Then we have this one that's root, but it's writable by anyone in the group admin. Now let's take a look at our permissions, ID gels. And you see that, okay, we are part of this admin. It's right up at the end of this terminal. We are part of the admin group. That means that we can read and write this file. So let's try to open this. Okay. See, we have this file. And let's try to add something to the file. And save it. And you see it saved this file. Now this backup script, you see it's running as a cron job. You have to set up a cron job and it runs every minute. So whatever command we type there, it's gonna run that every minute. So we could try something like maybe what are these flags called we have in the what's the other one? The user Dale. I believe they call it txt. So we could of course try to get a flag name or see if we can list it. What we could do is we could try to copy that flag out of it from the root folder into our folder. We do something more fun. We could start a reverse shell. So what we'll do is start a listener. We open a new terminal. Then we simply get the root shell. Maybe not so simple, but so we start a listener. This can be on any port. Pick the higher port. In this case, I'm using netcode listener. And then we need the reverse shell command. So let's take a look. Okay, let's paste in our command in there. So reverse shell command for this machine. We need to connect to our attack box IP and to our ports, which in this case we used 4004. Let's copy this. Paste it in, save it, and then we need to wait a minute because this shell, as we read before, I can't find the file, but it runs every minute. Go inside the script.sh. It tells us that the script runs every minute, so it should connect to our shell in a minute or so, and give us directly root if we got a root shell right. So again, this is the file. We have typed here the address of our box to the right, then a port, and it might just take a moment for the root shell to pop. There we go. 1 minute has passed, and if I check who am I, let's see, now we are the user root, and we are in the folder root. We can do is read root.txt, and we have the final flag. So for this vulnerability, we used misconfigured cron job, and that's how we got root access. Now, of course, this completely depends on the CTF. Sometimes it's a cron job, sometimes the sudo command lets you become root, and sometimes it's something else.